Hello everyone, welcome to this video, and in this video we will talk about interrupts and multi-core programming. So basically we are using interrupt on both the cores of the Raspberry Pi Pico, and let me tell you one thing, that this is a very experimental setup and the thread library of the Python is also very much experimental. So whatever we will do in this video should be treated like an experiment. And here, as you can see, this is the yellow LED and it is connected to core 1 on the Raspberry Pi Pico. This is the first core function that is controlling the yellow LED, and this is a push button that will trigger the interrupt on the core 1 of the Raspberry Pi Pico. Similarly, this is a red LED and the red LED is controlled by the core number 2 or the second core of the Raspberry Pi Pico. As you can see, the second core function is dealing with the red LED and it is toggling the LED. Similarly, there is a push button that we have used to trigger an interrupt, and that interrupt will be handled by the second core of the Raspberry Pi Pico. So the entire setup is like this. We have two LEDs and the yellow one is controlled by the first core and the red one is controlled by the second core. Similarly, we have two push buttons. This push button will trigger an interrupt that will be attached to the first core, and this push button will trigger an interrupt that will be attached to the second core. In setup and in theory we are trying to achieve this, but let us see if we can do this in real time and with real hardware. Because what happens is, if you check the MicroPython or the Python documentation, you will clearly find that threads interact very strangely with interrupts. Yes, this is a fact, because it is clearly written that threads interact strangely with interrupts, and most of the time when you throw an interrupt, it will be received by an arbitrary thread. So if you are generating one interrupt by using the second core, there are high chances that it will be handled by any of the two cores arbitrarily. So this is a disclaimer, and so now let me run the MicroPython script and see the code in action. So this is the code, and let us run the MicroPython script. So as you can see, this yellow LED is controlled by core 1, this is controlled by core 2. Both are running simultaneously and at the same time, because we are not using any core synchronization techniques. So if I push the interrupt button on core 1, you will see that the core 1 counter is incremented. I may press it and you see that every time I press it, the interrupt generated on core 1 is successfully handled and the corresponding core 1 counter is incremented. But if I interrupt the core 2 by pressing this push button, you can see nothing is happening on the MicroPython console. That is because the interrupt on core number 2 is not handled explicitly, but what will happen is, if I again press the interrupt on core 1, the earlier interrupt of core 2 will be arbitrarily handled by any of the two cores. So you can see that. Now if I press the interrupt on core 1, you can see that along with this core 1 counter increment from 40 to 41, you can see that core 2 counter is also incremented by 1. What it tells you is that the interrupt which are attached to the core number 2, they will be randomly and handled by any of the two cores. So in conclusion, we can say that you have to avoid attaching interrupts to the core number 2 if you want to have stability. But every time I press the interrupt button on core 1, it is successfully handled. As you can see, core 1 counter is incrementing properly as I am continuously pressing the button. So attaching interrupts on core number 1 or the main core will always give you stability in your programs, and every time the interrupt is generated, it will be successfully handled by the Raspberry Pi Pico. But if I again interrupt the second core, as you can see, I am pressing the button but nothing is happening. But again, if I press the button, that will be interrupting the core 1. So the previous interrupt will be handled arbitrarily. See, along with interrupt on core 1, you will see that core 2 counter is also incremented to 2. It means that core number 2 interrupts are always handled arbitrarily, as it is clearly mentioned in the Python thread libraries caveats. It is clearly written that interrupts on different threads will behave very different, and the behavior will be entirely random and arbitrary. So as a conclusion to this setup, I would suggest you to avoid placing interrupts with the second thread. Instead, you can use the first thread or the first core to use multiple interrupts, and then use the second core for your other computation work. So I hope this has cleared the concept of interrupts on using both the cores, and I hope that you have learned something. And many of my subscribers and my friends ask me if we can use the second core to monitor interrupts and then use the first core for the main program. So the answer is, right now it is no, because the second core interrupts are not handled in a very stable manner. These are generally handled arbitrarily. So what you can do, you can use the first core to monitor multiple interrupts, and then use the second core to make your main program or make the main computations, and then you can use core synchronizations to have a synchronization between both the cores, so that you can decide which core will be running at what particular time and doing what particular things. So now let me tell you about the MicroPython script. So first you have to import the required libraries. So from machine you will import this pin class, and you will import this thread library and microtime. This code is almost similar to the code that I have used in the part 1 of the video, so I will not go into much details. So now let us begin first by having some global variables, and these variables are counter 1 and counter 2, and we will initialize them with 0, and these are the variables that will increment each time an interrupt is handled successfully. So counter 1 will be for core number 1 and counter 2 will be for the core number 2. Now you have to declare the pins for the LEDs. So you will define 2 pins. First is the red LED and second one is the yellow LED. Red LED is on pin number 20 and yellow is on pin number 21. Both will be set for output mode with initial value of 0. That is, initially both the LEDs will be turned off. And now you have to declare pins for monitoring the interrupts using the push buttons. So make one pin, define it, name it as core 1 interrupt pin, and assign the GPIO 16 with an input mode and with an initial pull down resistor connected internally. Similarly, define core 2 interrupt pin at GPIO 15 in the input mode with pull down resistor connected internally. So on this pin we will connect the push button that will be for the generation of interrupt for core 1, and on this pin we will connect another push button that will generate the interrupt for core number 2. Now you have to define interrupt service routine for core 1, that is the main core. So we will make a function and we will name it core1 counter. Interrupt service routine is the function that will be executed when an interrupt is successfully registered. So under this core1 counter function, first you have to access this global variable counter1, which was initialized with 0, and every time the interrupt hits successfully, the counter will be incremented by 1 and the corresponding value will be printed with a small time delay of 0.1 second. And now you have to attach this interrupt to GPIO number 16 on core number 1. So you will use this pin that we have earlier defined, that is core 1 interrupt pin, and use this IRQ method. This will attach the interrupt to this corresponding pin, and this IRQ method will take two parameters. First one is the trigger. Trigger is rising, pin.irq rising, because in the initial setup we have defined the pins to be in pull down configuration. That is why the interrupt is IRQ rising. So every time the status of this pin will be changing from low to high, the interrupt will be registered successfully. And the second parameter is handler. Handler is the name of the function, that is core1 counter, that is the interrupt service routine, and every time the interrupt is successful, the handler function, which is this function, will be executed successfully. So in this way we have attached the interrupt to the core 1, that is the main core, on GPIO number 16. Now we will define function to handle the first core function. The first core is just toggling the state of the yellow LED after every 2 seconds, and instead of writing a separate function for defining the functionality of first core function, we can directly cut these lines of code and put it in the while true loop. So I like to do it this way because there is a clear separation of the first core function and the second core function. So here you will define first core function and you will put the code here that will be handled by the first core. In this demonstration we are only toggling the yellow LED, and now you have to define the function to handle the second core. So this is like we have already done in part number 1 of this video. So you will make a function. I have named it second core function and it is not taking any parameters, and inside this function, in the earlier part of the video, we have made an infinite while loop, and this will be toggling the state of the red LED after every 2 seconds. But in order to attach interrupts to the second core, I have experimented a lot and find this is the only possible way in which we can explicitly write interrupt codes for the second core. Because if we cut these lines of code and we put it outside the second core function definition, so this interrupt will also be attached to the first core, and every time this interrupt executes, it will be directly handled by the main core. So I believe this is the way we will write interrupt, and this is the only possible way in which the MicroPython interpreter is not giving any errors, any kind of runtime errors. So what we will do is we will define the interrupt service routine for the second core, and I have named it core2 counter, and inside it we are accessing the global variable counter2, which was initialized with 0, and now we will increment this counter2 by 1 and print the value of counter2 with a small time delay of 0.1 second. And in a similar way that we have already done for core number 1, we will attach this interrupt to GPIO number 15, that will be handled by core number 2. So we will use this pin definition, core 2 interrupt pin, and we will use this IRQ method with the first parameter of trigger that will be set to IRQ rising, and the handler will be the name of the interrupt service routine that has the code that we want to execute when the interrupt is successfully registered. So this core2 counter is the name of this function. So every time the core2 interrupt pin registers one successful interrupt, the code inside the function core2 counter will be executed. So this is how we will define interrupts, and this is how we are going to attach interrupt to core number 2, and below it we will make one while true loop, and inside this loop we will write the code. This will be the regular code for the core number 2, and note that in this video and in this code we are not using any core synchronization techniques. So that is why both the cores will be running simultaneously, and after this you will have to start this new thread. New thread will be on the second core. So you will use this thread library and you will use this method start new thread, and the first parameter will be the name of the function that has all the functionality and all the code for the second core, and the name is second core function. This is the name of the function, second core function, because this function contains entire code from this line to this line that will be running on the core number 2. So we will name the second core function here as the first parameter, and the second parameter is an empty tuple, and that will be used to have some parameters, or if you have some kind of parameters here, then you can pass these parameters from this tuple by using this tuple. So this is not demonstrated in this video, and we will make some other videos, some advanced videos. In that we will discuss all this. So this is how you are going to start a new thread. So this line of code will start a new thread on the second core with this interrupt attached, and now you will make the main loop, that is the loop on core 1, which will be running the main program, and inside this loop we are executing this function, the first core function that we have already defined. This is the first core function, and it is just executing these 4 lines of code, that is just simply yellow led.toggle, and with some time delay then toggle again. If you do not want to write this function explicitly, you can just cut these lines of code and delete this line and put the lines here. So this is the implementation of the code, and one disclaimer I would like to give here is this is a very experimental setup, and I am not sure if it is the right way of attaching interrupt to the second core, and I do not recommend you to believe that this is the exact code. And since the Raspberry Pi Pico and the RP2040 is a very new chip, and it is lacking the support and the open source community that is needed to build some cool projects, so I believe that as time will pass we will have proper support for this chip as well, and we will figure out how to use these interrupts on both the cores at the same time. So thank you very much for watching the video, and this is a 3-part video on multi-core programming. So if you haven't watched part 2 or part 1, so please go and watch that video for better clarity, and thanks for watching.